streamed on this overlay since the mic switch. Can you all hear me? Hello, hello. Okay. Okay, good. Yes. But yes, hello, welcome Man Laugh. Hello, Nexu. Hello, Dove. Hello, Mita. Hello, Paro. Hello, Azal. Welcome to this little impromptu stream. Everything else sound good? The music and all that? It's an incredibly peaceful music soundtrack, which is kind of funny for the situation, but it's nice, chill, something to have in the background. So I think it was appropriate. It's just one of my favorite lo-fi channels that does video game stuff. Bring my mic. Okay. All right, how does that sound? Is that a lot better? All right. Everything sound good? Everything sound good? But yes, we are talking about Girlframe today. I have it zoomed out. Music. Okay. Is that better? Perfect. All right. But yes, we are talking about Girlframe today. So this is I wanted to zoom out so I can show the art, but I'm going to zoom in a bit. But yes, once again, please read the content warnings. Content warning at your own goddamn risk. Misgendering, transphobia, homophobia, sexism, abuse, sexual assault, drug abuse, toxic relationships, dehumanization, fascism, body horror, torture, brainwashing, ableism, non-consensual procedural surgeries, suicide, lobotomies, hallucinations and memory loss. But don't worry, chat. It does promise messy lesbians, toxic power dynamics, giant robots, fighting eldritch horrors, oppression, and hard choices. You like content warnings because people should be warned about the potential encountering something that would make them legitimately upset. I like content warnings because I count them as foreplay. We are not the same. You know, I feel the same way, but you know, I am not like some of the freaks on our Discord affectionate. I do like things that get messy, but I also do like cozy, comfy things. I think both are very important. Alright, but yeah, it's powered by the Apocalypse system to tell a story about lesbian mech pilots forced into half-living mech suits and sent by their handler to kill Gorgons, the eldritch beings from outside reality. Setup. Yep. 2d6s, handler. How do we play? Use the rules. Alright. Lexicon. Traditional TTRPG stuff. Girls, the PC is usually lesbians who pilot vital frames, legally not human. The player character's PC is handler, the high-ranking Foundation member who maintains the girls while they're on a mission or between missions. The other player characters, NPCs. See, this is one of the first distinctions that I kind of really like. The handler is not an NPC. They are a player character controlled by the GM. This game makes a very clear distinction about that, which is fairly interesting. NPCs are non-player characters, human members of the Foundation. Pilots, people who pilot the vital frames, usually most interchangeably with girls. Vital frames, giant modular robot suits, mechs or mechas, who are powered by their pilots' emotions, often shortened to frames. The Foundation, a world government dedicated to the protection of humanity against the Gorgon threat. Gorgons, destructive beings of void space whose mere presence causes the change of the human body, and the primary threat to humanity, void space, an alternate dimension without any natural light which humanity broke into for purposes of faster to light travel, causing and unleashing the Gorgons. Real space is the opposite of that. Harpies, girls who have been changed by the Gorgons to the point which they are no longer human, strange ethereal things who fight against the Foundation. Neuralink and artificial mind. All right. Notably, the artificial mind, human resembling synthetic intelligence, uses she/her pronouns. This game has some, as I said kind of before, this game has some very specific uses of pronouns, and all of the player characters tend to be its. But the mechs themselves are she/her. Applying their importance more than any other things. And that also applies with the AM here, which I think is super interesting. All right, gender and sexuality. The most girls are the most common pilots of the vital frames due to specific and complex emotional cocktail required to effectively link to the frame. Lesbians make up a majority of the pilots. Pilots are not legally human for the duration of their service, as such exempt from any anti-discrimination laws. It is standard practice within the Foundation that all vital frames are referred to she/her, while all pilots are referred to its. Disability. Very likely is required to be a pilot. You need a Neuralink implant and the ability to generate cortisol. Limbs, eyes, and ears are preferred, but can be worked around with minor complex design adjustments. The Foundation considers all other aids, pain medication, mobility, etc., to be up to the handler's discretion. Why lesbians? The initial Neuralink tests were done on lesbians who found to have life experiences and emotional tendencies that are most compatible with the current technology. As there is not yet a shortage of lesbians. Don't I know it, chat? Don't we know it? Always crawling around on our queer spaces, and we love them. The Foundation puts effort towards making their limited number of frames more effective rather than expanding the already sizable pool of pilots. Note, a modest percentage of pilots do not consider themselves as any landlord will tell you. This is primarily due to stress-induced confusion, societal repression, and is a delusion that must be corrected by the mains to maintain the pilot efficiency. This is a fascinating note, because I mean, this guy kind of immediately gets into the oh god, is the stream already fucking crashing? Am I there? Are we here, chat? All right, it seems like we're stable still. No drop frames. Okay, good. Oh god, this book is written by comedians. What the fuck do you mean by that, Dove? What the fuck does that mean? But yeah, it ties into, like, the system doesn't actually care what your gender identity is. You could be a man, you could be a trans man, you could be... I think this ties into some really interesting, like... I'm not the person to speak about this already, but I know that a lot of trans masc individuals have been, like... I'm not actually sure who Dave Chappell is. As a very woman-coded mask person, this is throwing me. This book is talking about women the way I talk about boys for a bit. Yes. But yeah, as I was saying, like, this feels like a very common, like, trans mask experience. It's like, oh, you're just a tomboy, or oh, you're just a butch lesbian or something. You're not actually a man, or you're just like, well, and that feels like it ties into a lot of that kind of like things. transphobic community. Dave Chappelle. Yes, Dave Chappelle. Oh, I don't know how I read that as Dave Chappelle. Yes. Now I know who you're talking about. All right, so playbook. So this has the classic Powered by the Apocalypse playbook thing where you have your traditional playbook and you have your Fran playbook. So you get some assets, your bonds, several plays and rules, including a sex play. I really like games that have sex moves. I think it just adds a lot of really interesting elements. Like, obviously not every game needs to have sex, but when a game wants you to, I really like when the game marries mechanics with roleplay. And I think leaving out sex moves is when the game is so much about this emotionality. And I think it's very infrequently done because a few games feel comfortable tackling that. And I really like one game tackle that. I don't think every game needs a sex move, Dove. I think a lot of games, there could be a lot more interesting things done if a lot more games had them. Yes. Step 1 of character creation is getting your HRT prescription sorted. Yes, exactly. And then your frame, you get a bunch of other moves. You also have 4 identities to start with, which can be used to gain heat. Now, another thing that this game does that I briefly read on, but we'll get into, it does not play by the traditional Powered by the Apocalypse rules. I'm going to quickly mouse over to this sheet. Okay. And as you'll see, the streak is building. Hi, Schklump. Welcome in, Tara. But yes, so your traditional is 6 or below is a failure. 8, 7, and 9 is a partial success, and a 10 plus is a full success. This game is built slightly differently. I want my own turning you into this game because I posted a video link. Yes, Mitha, you very explicitly made this happen. I'm very appreciative. Yes, it's very much like Monster Hearts in that way. Dove. If your game lasts sex moves, the players will create one. Look at Sky. What would happen if Pokemon added one? Then Entei would die of dehydration. Speaking of water, there's some water. Anyway. But yeah, this game puts the 8 to 10 as your full success, more or less. And then 11 plus is like you completely do it, but you have to take a tag in this case for the keep your head, or you can disobey, but only if you act without thinking. Flirt, tell her how you've gone too far as an 8 and a 10, but also pick one. Is basically you kind of lose control. But you also get extra positive effects sometimes, which I think is really interesting. And that also comes into the generation of heat. So you create heat, and then that gives you pluses to your rolls. But as that heat, but if you get too much, you go into these 11 plus zones and roll into slightly more complicated things. This is a game I would love to play. It would be my second ever non-boy. See, I mean, you could make a boy in this system. It just would be someone who was forced to fit into a role that was uncomfortable for him. But yeah, you have access to things, and you have your text sign, your frames. Once again, pointing out legal pronouns. Very good. how to play. So the conversation is actually, it sounds like collaborative. Yeah. Things we already know. Play, we don't understand how this works. The majority of girl plays and frame plays require you roll 2d6. You may spend heat. Heat is a resource discussed later, earned through identities. Each heat adds +1. Other adjustments to your roll are possible. Most plays have 3 possible results. Generally, you're going to be aiming for the 8 to 10 range. Higher means consequences and lower means failure. Mathematically, you get 8 to 10 by adding it to your heat roll. A magical girl frame? I mean, yes, you can absolutely do magical girl mech stuff. This game definitely has some like pseudoscience that kind of spets that you could definitely do into magic. I'd play this explicitly to get force femmed. The boy would have to be a girl. Yeah. The boy would be an it's lesbian to magic maximize DPS powerful. I'm thinking about the one animal where it was in fact a dude. I forget all of it. I mean, yeah, what's the difference between magical girls and mech man? I think there's a lot of similarities between the two genres. It's just mech typically leans a bit more grimdark, and magical girls tend to lean more lighthearted. Yeah, mechs definitely have transformation sequences. Handler plays, unlike girl plays, almost always are diceless. They're made when a girl play prompts you to, or when a girl looks to you to see what happens next, or just when you think your character feels like it. As the handler, you're responsible for your character of the handler, but you're also responsible for the world. You don't necessarily have to be present in the scene to use your handler plays. Yeah. So we have so as with every Powered by the Apocalypse world, our basic plays are, what am I allowed to do in the system? And this kind of is the basic framework that I really like about a Powered by the Apocalypse. It tells you right up front, this is what the game's about. Here's how you're going to do that thing. And here's how you're going to accomplish the things in the game. So you keep your head, you put someone beneath you, receive orders, flirt, or disobey orders. Frame plays, you can deep dive, engage the enemy, all-out assault, go for the core, and check sensors. Makes plays go off duty, void observation, and defeat. Defeat is a very interesting concept for a play. I wonder what that's going to be. Disobeying orders is flirting. And then we go through what the moves are. Yeah, let's read through these. These are important. Keep your head. When you keep your head, say what you're trying to survive and spend heat and roll. On an 8 to 10, choose 2 you are and 2 you definitely aren't. Ask your handler if it's enough to survive. You're desperate enough, you're sexy enough, I'm tough enough, I'm vicious, I'm in control enough. On 11 plus, you're all of those things, but you're definitely not in control. Take a tag, ask your handler if it's enough to survive. You can only choose one that you are, and the others you definitely aren't. Ask your handler if it's enough to survive. Note, this play is used when things have gone south. It's a way to establish what you are and what you aren't in the conversation, typically in response to a play by your handler. Note, you may be tempted to try and make a play to cancel out another girl's play. This is not possible. Once a play happens, it happens. All you can do is hurt them back. That's a very important note. I think that's like pretty like normal in a lot of TTRPGs, but I really like how it's very explicitly written out. I've seen one make a magical girl themed Lancer character. The genres are basically cousins, which is why it's so much fun to make them kiss. Yeah. There's also another one of my favorite TTRPGs, is Girl by Moonlight. And they have an explicit like mech game. It is a magical girl game, but it has a mech subgenre playbook series you can play. is really cool. Put someone beneath you. When you put someone beneath you, spend heat and roll. I'll choose 2. You insult her, beat her, and it sticks. Give her a tag. Lower her status. Well, I guess we have to ask what status, but we'll get to that. Weaken one of her bonds with you or someone else. I'll choose 1 and then 1 from below. 1 above and 1 below. Pick one of her tags. She can't choose to reject it unless you agree. Physically put her beneath you, pinning her down. Ask her how she plays it now. Hot, 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 hot. Chat, hot. If her status is lower than yours and you're acting on orders from someone with higher status, punish her. Pinning. Yes. That's very interesting. I wonder what the Punisher mechanic is. On 7 or minus, you can pick one either from either list to do to you instead, or damage one of your assets, or leave you bleeding. Ooh, that's fun. Receiving orders. When someone of a higher status gives you an order, choose a response. Follow the order obediently, making plays if necessary. Follow the orders without thinking, making the plays necessary. Interesting that those are different. Follow the orders, pick one hesitantly, while mouthing off, gritting teeth, making plays if necessary. Or make a play to disobey orders. I'm curious. Yes, note, good girls follow orders. This is gritty realism. If Mech were reals, this would just be what happens. Exactly. Yes, very important. Good girls follow orders. Your handler may reward you for being good by raising your status. I'm really curious to know if this is mostly just flavor, or like these are the options you have allowed to you, or it's kind of just like spelling it out, because this feels very like self-explanatory, but it is powered by the apocalypse, and the systems tend to like lead your hand. It's like, all right, this is what you're allowed to do. So you're allowed to do it obediently, without thinking, mouthing off, do those things, and then or disobey. That is a very interesting mechanic, considering there's not like a role to it specifically. Though, importantly, this is you only have to listen and do this because it's somewhat of a higher status, which is interesting. I think I ultimately really like it, but it is interesting that they wrote it down, is I guess where I'm at. So very explicitly. Flirt. When you flirt with someone, say with who and spend heat, then roll. On a 10 days, it's easy. Each of you can unmark 2 of your identities. Once again, identities. What are identities? But I think that's another thing we want to learn. You choose them, obviously, but we don't know exactly how they work yet. And ask her 1. If you follow through on giving her what she wants, deepen your bond. So this is like largely consensual, I think. Do you want me to hurt? Do you want me to be? Who do you want me to be? What do you want me to hide? How can I alleviate your fears? Yes, crazy to see how much Yuri we saw before this section about flirting. It's very interesting. Also, another thing that's very clear about this is not like healthy. This is very clearly not healthy communication. Some of these could come off. Like, what do you want me to call you? Or how do I alleviate your fears? But what do you want me to be? Who do you want me to hurt? What do you want me to hide? Those are not like. Well, see, the thing is like I think there's a lot of things that are things that trigger sex moves, and like this is leaning into that. Do you want me to fuck me, or do you get fucked by me? If we have an intense bond, you won't be able to restrain yourself. That's very interesting choice. That's fascinating. Because, like, I mean, yeah, that's getting consent, technically. But also, if you have the intense bond, it's very much like, no, it's very, very clear. And this is something that a lot of the game designs stray very reasonably against, to give your character agency. You do not have a lot of character agency in this game, and it very explicitly told us. But, like, it dives into that a lot, which I think is not necessarily, I think more names need to do it, but when the game concept calls for it, I really like when the game designers lean into that. That, like, we are not having complete control of your character, and being forced to do things with the proper boundaries, with the proper things set up, I think can tell some really fascinating stories. Yeah, the PC is being able to consent besides what the player is interested in. Yes. Tell her on 11 plus, tell her how you go too far, and a 10 also has a 8 and 10, but also pick one. Unless you make a play or damage an asset to escape now, you're helpless. That feels like I think another thing that games do is, like, they highlight these terms. This is clearly like a capital H helpless against me unless someone interrupts. Our handler notices us and makes a play in response. Oh God, got your handler. I owe you now. You can give me a tag, and I can't say no to you until I've embraced it or rejected it. On a 7 or 9, or 7 minus, why are you drawing away from me? Weaken your bond with her. She can unmark an identity of her own and pick one to ask you. Interrupting the DovCon. I'm so happy to just introduce this to Dove specifically. I'm so glad that all of you are also here, but I'm just Dove foaming at the fucking mouth in this game. It's very, very fun. When you disobey a direct order from a superior, spend heat and then roll. If anyone notices, you'll have to lower your status. You can disobey and pick one. If your handler finds out, they'll punish you. Back to the capital H, punish. Give yourself a tag and gain heat. Reject a tag. Or tell someone to follow you. They act immediately without thinking they can. If they act immediately without thinking they can. Okay. You can disobey, but only if you act now without thinking. Gain 2 heat. If your handler finds out, they'll punish you. Your programming halts you in your tracks, and you can't bring yourself to fight back. Your handler will still punish you. I'm stealing mechanics like a kid from a candy store. Punish. But yeah, there's a lot of specific things through this that comes up. So, helpless, punish. Those are the two. If we look through these 4 main moves, I think this is part of like minor punishments, major punishments, severe. These are probably what the punishments are. Is this list of things? Some of these execution is insane, but I really like that that's on the table. Lobotomization. Indefinite imprisonment. Link surgery reversal. God. That's fascinating. Interesting. Oh god, libido inhibitor? I love how you can just, if you know IT, you can hack this. That's very good. God, that's amazing. All right, we'll come back to these when it comes up in the book, but I think that's mostly what the punishments are. Is like this kind of thing. It looks like that's just an SSRI. Yes, exactly. You're given an SSRI that makes you more compliant. That's hilarious. Okay. When you deep dive into your link and commune with your vital frame, spend heat and roll. Hover just at the boundary and choose one. I am Brace here, flesh trading for flesh, gating void and unmarking all identities. I allow her to grow up my brain stream, erasing an identity in exchange for strange insight. I ask any question and table the answers. I spew unreal radiation, causing nearby NPCs to gain void. Libido inhibitor. I've been on estrogen too. That's why you gotta get on progesterone, chat. Makes the libido come back. I submit to her fully. The table will decide what new identity she grants me and what it replaces. I am assumed by her, molding to her flesh. The cockpit is locked. All vitals are dead. I cannot be extracted without her consent. Fascinating. So, to be honest, I'm not exactly sure why I would choose any of these. I guess to commune with your vital frame, obviously. But the move doesn't like tell. Like, there's only ask any I allow her to grow up my brain state, erasing all identities in exchange for strange insight. This is the only one that gives me, like, a tangible thing. So I'm really curious what you would choose the other options for. Dive deeper, then you can handle, choose one, and your handler chooses one. Then your handler detects the synchronicity spike and lowers your status. Interesting. Okay. So some of these are not good on purpose because they're probably not meant to be chosen. Well, people love hurting their player characters. I know some of the bitches I play with, and the type of bitches that play this kind of game would absolutely choose one of these on purpose. But some of these are probably to have your handler choose. Because, like, this is the only one that seems positive. Or, like, you're getting something out of it. That's very funny. Okay. This could be, like, an interchange of odd hormones and smells. Her flesh drumming against the steel cockpit to form garbled words. A holographic human representation projected into your mindscape, a horrible and disturbing dream in which you speak to her uncaged from her metal change. Possibly Mitha. I don't think so, but like, see, this gets into like some of the interesting stuff with asexuality that I'm definitely not the person to talk about, but like, asexuality is one of those entities that can be like through people sometimes adopt that identity through trauma. Sometimes people adopt that identity because it's just how they work. But like it's one of the more mutable identities, or like things can like sort of make you feel ace or more ace than you did before, or like, I don't know, I'm not exactly the right person to talk about this, but I know I have heard experiences of people who have been like, in their formative years, it feels like something changed or something happened to, you know, make them feel a certain way, but also it could be just like a reaction to their experiences. Yeah. Trial and error. Absolutely. I'm not suggesting you go on something. I mostly went on it for breast growth, and it's theoretically helping, but the libido is a not bad side effect for me personally. All right. You can pin them down, blast forward, drive them back, manipulate your movement, hide, break or shatter. Okay. So at 11 plus, you damage something, but you get a bunch of choices. And an asset you used becomes damaged. Okay. So we don't know what assets are, but it's just like, I mean, I think experimenting with stuff can be important. Like, I understand the joke, I guess, but like, I think there's some importance to experimenting, you know? All out assault. Hit them hard. Use an asset to destroy, restrain, or disable an opposing asset. So I guess this is like targets on the mech and things like that. All out assault should be considered a sex move. Well, you see, Dove, you can have sex with your mech. So, kinda. That's what mechs are for. Exactly. Exactly. Oh. Okay. Yep, seems pretty standard. We can fist the animatronics, or they fist you. You can't make the mecha. We can have sex with. The population would never recover. Yes. Your handler pick a circumstance within the conversion that must be reached 1 or 2 assets, which must be damaged. Your handler will pick a circumstance within a conversation that must be reached, and 1 to 2 assets which must be damaged before a foe will expose their core. Once a core is exposed, you may go for the core. Okay. So there is a way you have to complete a checklist of things to get to the core, which is, I believe, how you destroy mechs. Like the Gorgons or whatever. Or your mech gets destroyed. When you go for something's vitals, say what asset you're using for your divisive strike, spend heat, and roll minus the target's number of undamaged assets. Their core must be exposed if they are a Gorgon or in a frame. You strike with a boson bow, they die. They die messily now or die in any moment. You overcommit, 11 plus, you overcommit, and they may choose 1. If they're an NPC, they die explosively. Anyone else damages an asset if they have any undamaged or dies otherwise. Anyone else damages an asset if they have any undamaged or dies otherwise. Okay. They damage 1 of your assets. They make 1 of their plays against you. They leave you helpless. Maybe they'll fight back. They die anyway, but make a handler play against you. They may choose 1 or 2 or above. If they're an NPC, they die pathetically unless they have a way to defend themselves. Exposing the core is just a funny way to say bully the sub until they cave. Exactly. I do love that hub NPCs, if you wanted to kill them in your mech, they just die. We love this. When you take stock of the situation, spend heat and roll. The handler will answer any two questions you ask. On 11 plus, they answer 3, but if you ask any that aren't on the list, they'll either not have all the information or find a reason to punish you later. Okay, that is a really, really good and fascinating way to write this. And I actually really, really like this. So a problem that I often have is I really like when the TTRPGs and Apocalypse games give you a like restricted, nice, clean list. I think they're really of questions you can ask. I think they're really beginner friendly. I think they are a way to kind of communicate how a character thinks, and how your character playbook thinks. Because I know some games in this genre will have like, oh, if you're the fighter, you can ask certain questions, but if you're the wizard, you can ask different questions. PBTA loves a bulleted list, and I love PBTA. I love a bulleted list. But from a game design perspective, I really like the ability for you can answer any of the questions on the list, and they're there, but it gives you the option to ask anything, because it kind of gets around a problem that I often will experience when I'm playing these games with a numbered list, where people want to know something that's not on the list, and it makes sense for them to find it out in a way their character makes sense, you know, or the game didn't think about that. And like, while I think there is a restriction there, and I like that restriction, I struggle to say no, or, you know, like, I want to put this constraint there because I think it's there for a reason, but I also often want my players to have the option to be creative and ask the questions that they're interested in getting the answers for. And I really like how the way this frames it. That's really fascinating. So there's a list of approved questions, but if you ask outside of that, you can get punished if you get rolled too high. I also really like on 7-, they'll answer the question, but it has to be from the list. So it's not like a wasted roll and nothing happens. Any question means a question you can think of. Asking what an NPC is hiding. You'll ask what'll happen if you try to kiss her. Ask where you could find a gun. The sky's the limit. Yeah. Because there's so many questions that people would think of that the game designers can't possibly think of that are in theme of the game. And giving that, the way that this game gives that flexibility is really cool. Misc, please. Alright. I'm actually getting quite freaking parched here. My throat. I need to go grab some water. So I'm going to do a quick break, and I'll be right back. All the stocking's making my throat a little scritchy. Boo. What's up, motherfuckers? I got some water. I got some throat lozenges. Be feeling good. I got an ice pack because I've lived in the Northwest for the past 5 years, and I'm a complete baby to heat now. And it's like high as like 95 or something a day. Getting throat is definitely the best way to spend an intermission. You're telling me. I keep applying to these desk jobs, but no women want to hire me. It's so weird. I know. Well, to be fair, I lived in San Diego, California, which was 60 to 80 all year round. It does regularly get to 100 in the summer. Yes, HRT definitely makes your temperature resistance worse as well. But not regularly 100. I've lived in the Pacific Northwest for long enough that 60 is like perfect temperature for me. And so like, and it's just starting to hop into summer, so I'm just starting to like, my body is starting to readjust to that temperature. And also I live in a house, which, my landlord keeps it at like a high of 68 pretty much all year round. And I'm not gonna lie, I love it. I like the cold now. I've well adjusted to it. It's comfy. I can throw on a blanket at worst or a jacket or whatever if I'm hot, and it's perfect. All right, we are looking at Girl Frame. It is a mech Powered by the Apocalypse game about exploitation of lesbian pilots, pretty much. Check the content warnings and keep your heart safe. But right now we just kind of started going through the playbooks, moves, and now we're at mission plays. So, go off duty. So the game started to talk about like your positional standing, and the system has 4 supposed ranks you can be at. There is always one dog, which is the bottom rung. There is wings, which are like your middle average pilots, and the ace, which is the favorite. There was always one ace, there was always one dog, and then there's wings, which are in the middle. And then the handlers on top of all of them. And so that's really interesting how that affects your role. Unsurprising, because if you're at the bottom rung, you have like the least excuse, or it's the most hard for you to get time to do fucking anything. I don't feel really cold too well, but I definitely realize when I'm sweating my ass off. It's not like particularly hot. I'm inside. It's relatively, I have air conditioning. I'm fine. But like, it's probably like 75 to 80 in this room, and I'm mildly uncomfortable. And so I grabbed an ice pack because I can. But yeah, your time to duty is comfortable. You may set one of the following scenes with one of the other girls. Your time off is busy. You must set one of the following scenes with your handler or one or more of the other girls. Interesting. I'm curious if this game has kind of a more structured play setting, like a lot of the Forge and Dark systems do, where it's like you do this, then you do this, then you do this, then you have downtime, then you go on a mission, that kind of structure. And I wonder if that's what this move is used for, but it's probably used for roughly around that. After going off duty, you can brace a tag, unmark all entities, and undamage all assets. Ensure that you also resolve any requisitions or punishments that have happened off screen. The handler does not set their own scenes unless the rules call for it. Combine scenes as desired. Void observation. When you go off duty while under observation, instead of rolling off duty, lower your status and roll the number of void assets you have. Interesting. You have no privacy. Choose one, and your handler also chooses one. One of your girl void assets is surgically removed. One of your frame void access is sawn off. You're assigned a junior handler or guards to keep an eye on you. You're poked and prodded by scientists and doctors. You have an extended hospital stay. You're publicly shown off, and the general hospitalist gives you a tag. You're under heavy management. You pick one. Your handler picks two. Under 11+, and you manage to stay under the radar. You pick one. On any result, if your handler suspects you attempting to hide your changes, either of you may pick from this list as well. Face moderate punishment. You are reprogrammed. Jesus. Become the dog. Gain the tag Harpy Candidate. The director or the rival handler shows up. Interesting. After picking, choose one to make your scene, or pick 7- from the options to go off duty. After picking, choose one to make your scene, or pick from the 7- options from the go off duty. After off duty, unmark all identities and assets as normal, and you may embrace attack. Note: you under void observation when your handler suspects you of having gained void or otherwise succumbing to corruption. Make your handler's life easier, and don't give in. Simply don't get corrupted. Simple. Alright, defeat. When you're defeated in battle, roll +1 for each girl asset you have undamaged. I'm still really interested about assets. What those are. Like assets, identities, things like that. I guess it's a bit of a slight nitpick, but it feels like this is something that should be gone over before, unless it wasn't really covered in the lexicon, wasn't covered here, wasn't covered here. Yeah, these other rules section, I don't know, it feels like this should be above the playbooks, you know, like that's a very slight editing note, but, and I know that people don't read TTRPGs from top to bottom very like at all ever anymore, but like, I don't know. Hey, at least I'm glad they did one thing that I is a minor pet peeve of mine, which is they told me how to play the game before they told me about character creation. I think character creation should not be the first chapter. That pisses me off. Once again, very minor nitpick, doesn't actually matter. but it is something I feel. All right. Defeat. When you're defeated, roll +1 for each asset. When you grasp something, pull. You grasp something and pull. Choose one. Your flame floods your blood with her own, and each of you grow a new void-corrupted asset. Set your heat to 4, and you're back in the fray. You pry your way out of your damaged cockpit, escaping onto the battlefield. Say where you go. Another girl swoops in to rescue you. Ask for a volunteer or choose. Deepen your bond, and you're with her in her cockpit now. Hot. Pulls up the scene from fucking God, what the fuck is it called? Darling in the Franxx? I think it's Darling in the Franxx. Yeah. This anime was fucking annoying. Okay. Alright, this is gonna be a scuff of shit, but it'll work. Because I need to show you guys this weird shit. And don't get me wrong, it's part and parcel for the genre. But I don't know, it just makes me uncomfortable. Because it's not gay. If it was gay, it would be dope, but like, look at this shit. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? I'm getting a lot of Darling in Franxx vibes. I hated how aggressively heterosexual in Darling in Franxx was. Yeah. Like, I kind of want to do this, but it's Yuri. You know? Like, that sounds like actually a really fun way to do this system. You'd have to have a lot of players, but it'd be interesting. Like, I find it is very interesting to think about, like, what that swap does. You know, like, I think it's obvious, like, this ties into so many stereotypes, and it ties into so many, it's so stereotypical, it's sexual without a desire to, of like I think it would have worked better. And I didn't watch all of the anime. I watched like 2 or 3 episodes, saw this, and was like, I can't deal with this. This is too fucking weird. If they like leaned into it more, I think it would have been better. But like this like weird on the edge, semi-ecchi anime bullshit feels like, I don't know. Like I just don't like. Also, another thing I think would have, if they actually made the women characters, it would be interesting. Why did you watch the whole thing, Mitha? Why did you suffer through the whole thing? Like, another thing that I think anime, a lot of shoujin, the anime made for men, I forget what it's fucking called. Yeah, like if the women had characters, and maybe we had a couple of female pilots who were the lead and the man were getting pegged. Like, there is a way to do this that is heterosexual. But the fact that it's exclusively heterosexual, it is not leaning into interesting sexuality and kink. It does not lean into, it does not present other possibilities for this to be, other pairs, male, female. Like, if they explored that more, it would have been so much more interesting. But instead you just get this. You know, like, just the most stereotypical fucking bullshit. Anyway, this is my random rant. It's like, I think there's a lot you could do with that. And it makes me kind of want to do something with that, but it's Yuri. Yeah, no. I could not tolerate... I think Darling the Franxx was also on that list. My Hero Academia was one of them. Fucking any anime that has a rape scene in the first episode, because God, there's so many that does not narrow it down, and that's terrifying. Yeah. Anyway. Yes, but it was tasteful. And we're not doing that with every single episode and every single time. And it had a very explicit purpose for the story. It wasn't played off for laughs. Yeah, it set up everything. It had a narrative purpose. It wasn't the writer's barely disguised fetish. Alright. You're knocked out, horribly injured. Your handler has to come in and save you. When you wake up, you swap one of your girl plays for one of an unused playbook. That's a really cool one. I really like when the system forces you to swap playbooks. Yeah. Exactly. But like, if they leaned into the fetish, if they did so many other things, it could have been actually good. You know? On 11 plus, all systems go dark. Your handler or their agents swoop in and rescue you. Choose to. Lower your status. Another girl can give you a tag. You'll face punishment after the mission. Interesting. That's very interesting how the more cinematic ones are the 8 to 10. This is the one these are all the ones you want. These are interesting. A lot more interesting. Where these are just like short, quick descriptions, which I like. 7 or 9. 7 minus. You're deeply, deeply screwed. Choose 1 to 2. Die from your injuries. Your frame is destroyed. Pick up a new frame book the next time you go off duty if you survive. Change your girl playbook. Lose your memories. Reset all your identities to the standard 4. And then replace one identity with an amnesiac. Beg your handler for another option. They'll offer you something just as ruinous as the other choices. Ooh, peak. Ooh, that's so tasty. Ooh, that's so tasty. You're defeated when you run out of frame assets or someone successfully goes with the core against you. If you run out of girl assets, you're instead helpless. Interesting. And your foe can do with you as they please with you. Interesting. Alright, so where the fuck are all these tags? Heat. Other rules. Skim this section before play. You should generally familiarize yourselves with heat, identities, bonds, and status. You can reference tags, assets, void, permissions, requisitions, and punishments when play calls for it. Okay. Heat is how hard you're going, how far you're pushing yourself on your reactor. Or your reactor. You gain heat through marking identities. Each heat can be spent to add +1. There's no limit how much heat you can spend at once. Every time you act while holding 5 or meet heat, you must spend all heat. That I really like. You have to manage it. Identities. Identities is how you see yourself. Interesting. And I bet tags are how others see you. Okay. And you have to spend them. You gain heat by marking identities. Okay. Identities is how you see yourself. They can be marked or unmarked. When you act or make a play in a way that reinforces one of your unmarked identities, mark it and gain 1 to 3 heat as you choose. Note, interpreting the meaning of your identities of one of your responsibilities as a player. Another very key thing that really bothers me about some TTRPG design is when all of the responsibility of remembering how to play the game is put on the GM. That is a big frustration. Personally as a GM, but also just as like, I want my players to be engaged in the game. And I like when we're engaged in the game all around, you know? Yeah, or interpreting the meaning of one of your identities may go, please. If you mark an identity as you initiate play, you can spend heat before rolling. Okay. Yeah, but don't punish the players for being new to the game system. Exactly. Like, there's nothing wrong with... I love teaching new people TTRPGs. I love walking people through new systems. I love doing that. But at the same time, I think, and powered by the hooks, I think this is really well, where it's just like, here's a few things you need to worry about. This is what you need to worry about as a player. And it's a way to keep you engaged. It's a way for you to, like, not sit on your phone waiting for your turn in combat. Yeah. There's obviously a balance to be played. And I think there's a difference between punish and, like, when we're playing a board game, right? There is an expectation for you to understand what your moves you're capable of. Obviously, we can sit down and explain it. I'm happy to re-explain it. But you're kind of ruining board game night if every time it comes to your turn, you ask, all right, what can I do again? What does my character do? What are my moves? What can I do? And, like, I think there is a certain amount of culture in some TTRPG spaces, D&D, to put everything on the GM and the even how to play people's goddamn fucking characters sometimes, or like remind people where their turn is and all those types of things. And I think giving the players a nice, clear, succinct, here's what you need to worry about. This is what you need to do. These are the things you need to be concerned about. Here's the list of moves you can choose from. Understand what they mean and how you can use them. Here's your character's very specific playbooks and a couple of moves that you can use and what you can do to utilize those. And I think that it's a good way to keep people engaged in the game, to have a thing that is important. To some extent, I think Pathfinder has that problem of you can just not pay attention and then just wait for your turn. But I think there is a certain... I don't know. I don't know enough about Pathfinder to talk about that intelligently. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was... part of the thing. But I think there's a lot more flexibility and clear communication on the way that your character works and things like that. But I also could be wrong. I don't know. if that does play. Part of the reason I am uncomfortable running Pathfinder is because I know I don't know the system. I know there's a lot of rules and things like that that I, as a GM, do not understand, and so I would struggle to run it. And so I could see how Pathfinder has that problem as well. I don't think there's a culture, and that's kind of the biggest difference is people that will actively want to play Pathfinder, or people that sign up to play Pathfinder, like, typically actively try to play their characters and stay engaged a little bit more. But you absolutely could have a table where you don't pay attention to anything until it's your turn. It's like, all right, what happened? What's going on? Yeah. All right. Your girl playbook determines your 4 starting identities. You can have a maximum of 4. If you would gain more, such as embracing tags, you must replace an existing one. The player that is engaged versus the player that is engaged. I always try. Exactly. And that's one of the things I love about playing with you, Mitha. You're not only are you engaged, but you're like actively wanting and trying to tell the story with me. And I am not someone who can tell a story by myself. I desperately need my players to tell it with me. You know, I can't sit there and pontificate, you know, without something to bounce off of. And that's another reason why games like Pathfinder, while I have enjoyed the few times I have gotten to play the system, it is not a system I am yet comfortable jamming in because there is a large... There is a knowledge gap that I do not currently have to run that game. Alright. You can ask them 4 identities. You unmark identities by flirting, or when you go off duty, or with other plays. If all your identities are marked, consider replacing one with a new identity to continue being useful. Interesting. Tags. Tags are things inflicted on a girl by others, typically descriptors or insults. They represent how others see you. Exactly what we predicted. Other players can mark one of your tags by bringing up why they think it's relevant to shift the result +1 or -1. So yeah, this is something that you explicitly would bring up. Okay, interesting. If they do this to an already marked tag, you must choose take action to reject it at the soonest opportunity, erasing the tag, or embrace it and turn it into an identity. Oh, that's fucked. Oh, that's fucked. I love that. You either have to purposely eject something or adapt it. But yeah, that's like... That is what society will do to you. You know? The longer something is forced upon you, you either have to embrace it or do something to make society no longer think that's something that you are. Interesting. And so it kind of, I find this interesting. It creates this like, the game creates this rotating system of like tags or like identities and like makes them very immutable. At least not explicitly in the rules here. There are definitely other times by fighting something you will lose status. Because status is like a capital S status in this game. So it's not explicitly mentioned here, so... Tags are marked after rolling dice. Only one tag can be marked per roll. If there's a dispute on who gets to mark, use status, discussion, or rock, paper, scissors. Beaten, confident, obedient dog, hot, soldier, slut, dreamer, dude, hero of the people, tranny, in charge, bootlicker, weapon, dyke, and cruel. Jesus fucking Christ, I love it. Typically descriptors or insults. Okay, so they don't have to be negative necessarily. Interesting. Okay. Handler's tags. The handler has a tag, then a girl can remove that tag at any time to choose one. Ask your handler for a favor if they are under no obligation to agree to. Attract your handler's full and undivided attention. Compel your handler to act on the tag. They can pause for a moment as they control themselves or give in and take action. Interesting. I really like how the game is setting up this handler character. Gorgon tags. Sorry, responding to a DM. All right. Roll against Gorgons using their tags to get +1 or -1 as the girl desires. You may use, because that's important, because if you have a lot of heat, you might want to take that -1. You make use of multiple tags in a single roll against a Gorgon, but if you use 2 or more tags, the Gorgon may remove 1 tag. Interesting. Okay. This is particularly useful when using the go for a chord play. You don't necessarily have to defeat the Gorgon by chipping it down with direct attacks, only the final blow really matters. Yeah. There's not like a clear damage system, it's more like following a puzzle. Or like solving to unlock the thing from the character. When an NPC gets a tag, that becomes a part of the way they think about themselves. Yep, because they're less... malleable, and they're kind of like, I like that. It gives the NPCs less of influence over themselves and gives the players able to do something about it. That's really cool. NPCs can't remove tags by themselves, but NPC Foundation members with tags excuse me. But tags that noticeably affect their work will generally be forcibly deprogrammed by the Foundation during off-duty times. Tags are both useful handlers and girls who encourage optimal behaviors. Take steps to apply them liberally. Yes. Another thing about this game versus like, this game is a bit combative. This game has a lot of very explicit like need to fight each other, and this is not a game where everyone gets along. Like being in middle school. It's exactly like being in middle school, Mitha. That's very funny. And I think with the right conversations and the right setup, and something that I would like this game to introduce at some point is like a list of like safety tools really built in the game, if not just referencing ones that already exist. I know this is a like core concept. This is not a finished product. It does its bare bones of like, hey, here's the triggers, play your own risk, which I think is fair. But it would be nice for me, final product, to have something like that. Bonds. Bonds are mutual ties with other girls or your handler. Bonds are personal, intense, and shared between two characters. Remember, capital H, or capital P, capital I, intense. If a bond would be weakened below personal, it is erased. If you would have strengthened above intense, each character gains 2 heat instead. At the depth of personal, when you mark bond's tags, you can adjust her roll by +2 or -2. This is very similar to, it has remnants of the like being smitten tags. I love Pathfinder 1 and 2, but they're not free of sin. Exactly. Welcome back, Azale. I don't know if you stepped away, but yes. All right. At the depths, you have more effect over someone who have your relationship with. At the depth of intense, you can communicate complex ideas through eye contact or touch, and you want to fuck her. It's very clear. Once again, this game is about sex. This game is about being weird, messy creatures. And so, yeah, when you have an intense relationship with someone, you want to have sex with them, and I really like that. You always have feelings about anyone you have a bond with, no matter what. You can write them down or keep them secret inside your head, but you have to have them. Yeah. It is very, once again, we're setting the expectations of the game we're about to play. We're clearly stating, this is what the game's about, this is how the game's about that, and this is how the game rewards you for doing that. Tells you very explicitly. And I like that in a system. You know, I wonder if this has something to do with me being autistic or submissive. It's probably both. I like it when the system is clear communication about what it expects out of me. What could this mean? NPC bonds. Bonds with characters that other than girls, handlers, and harpies, and cannot rise above personal. You may weaken a bond or an NPC at any time to shift the result. Shift the result against them +1, -1. Okay. So you can use your bonds with NPCs to, like, neurodivergent people, like lesbians with mech suits? Yes, exactly. Also, let's be real. Trans lesbians, if they have a bond that's intense and they're not ace, 99% of the time it's because they want to fuck you. Because they want to fuck somebody. I know that's personal about myself. Personally. If I have an intense bond with someone who is of a femme variety, I have at least thought about it once. Probably. So this is personally correct. This is speaking my truth. But yes, this goes into the status, what each status level has. Status to measure a pilot's rank with their cadre, the level of status in order are handler, ace, wings, and the dog. Unattainable by pilots is your handler status. Ace is your handler's favorite pilot, receives extra permission at the end of each mission. So, that is an interesting question, Ethan. And I don't know if the game does. So the game is very clearly not written, at least in my opinion, as of right now, without that in mind. But, like, I think there is something to be said about the I think if you wanted to play a character that was asexual, and if part of their narrative was not to, like, have them be in, like, constantly in non-consensual sex situations, if that's what you wanted to do with the character, you could do that. Hotly contested position to be the group's whipping bitch. No, yes, truly. Especially when you play with a bunch of trans femmes. Everybody wants to be the dog. And live, if you're still here, yes, I'm calling you out explicitly by name. Hell, I'm calling myself out explicitly by name. But yeah, I guess, like, I think you could play an ace playing an ace character who was sexual, was ace or asexual post asexual would be really difficult, because you would be constantly having to navigate, like, having your character essentially be raped a lot, or having them being put, or it could be something along the line. You could do it in a way where it's like, the character is, doing these things for power, and they know it gives them power, and it could be a manipulation tactic. I think if you were playing an ace character who isn't inherently aroused by sex, but they enjoy all of the other things about sex. So they enjoy making their partner feel good. They enjoy the emotional connection they have with that person. Like, I think there's a spectrum of things that could definitely be done, but I wouldn't necessarily say that the game is written with them in mind, and that's not inherently bad. Having my sexual pulsed Lancer character get crept on was a fantastic time, but I'm a goddamn freak. Yeah, it would be something that you would have to discuss very explicitly with the table. And something that, like, I think this game feels like very, like, you can absolutely fade to black. You can absolutely do those types of things, and you're not going to go into the specifics, but this game feels like a type of game who encourages or wants you to get into the specifics, you know? And, like, every group's going to have a different comfortability level, of course, but, like, I think that would be, like, the level this game has, and I think it would depend on each person's comfortability and where you want to go with things, but, like, this game feels like that stuff gets brought up a lot, and so it would be an interesting but difficult conversation to navigate that would happen on a player level, but I don't think the game considers it inherently. And if it's a game that has, like, a lot of its core concepts around the concepts of sex and people wanting to have it, I think that's okay. You know, I think nailing down a very specific design space, and I think it would be awesome for the game when it's a little bit more complete, be like, all right, how do you handle ace characters, and give some advice or things like that. But I don't think the game explicitly, like, it doesn't explicitly forbid it by any means, but your character would be motivated by other things other than sexual attraction, but they would still want to do these things because the game is very much about doing those things, you know? And you could, you know, it depends on how comfortable you are dealing with those narratives, but it would be something like that. But yeah. All right. Status. Get extra permission as a the ace, the wings, no extra benefits, just everyone else, and then you will always get punished at the end of the mission. Only one pilot can be the dog. The status is exclusively hierarchical. When you gain status, you shift yourself up and the pilot in front of you down. The highest status pilot is always the ace, and the lowest status is always the dog. When someone at higher status gives you an order, make and receive orders plan. I do love this. This is so fucked. How well they pass. Fuck. Way too fucking real. Yep. Yep, I don't know what else to say about that. But it's really fucked. It points to all of the content warnings, but I love it. All right, assets. Assets are your gear and your gear of your girl and your frame, your weapons, your armor plating, cybernetics, etc. They're typically used in fighting with plays and can be used, or can be used in conversations while undamaged. You may have up to 5 and 4 girl assets. If you want to gain more assets than your maximum, replace a non-voice asset with a new one. Huh? If you would gain more assets than your maximum, replace... Oh, yeah, you have to replace. Okay, cool. You can never have above your max. You just have to replace the one if you want to. Okay. When you're defeated in battle, running out of frame assets, you must make a defeat play. If you run out of girl assets while outside your frame, you're instead helpless against your opponent. When you're helpless, you're beat up, emotionally collapsed, or otherwise damaged to the point where you can't or won't stop people from doing whatever they want to you. If someone decides to do something to you, they can always just do it. No play required, and you don't get a chance to defend yourself. You become no longer helpless when you have a moment alone to compose yourself. If all your girl assets are damaged, undamaged 1, or someone helps you recover. When a handler would damage an asset or become helpless, they choose 1. Interesting. So the handler can become helpless. All of their assets. Handler would damage an asset or become helpless. They choose 1. Offer an opportunity, chance to act, or moment of weakness. Suffer an injury but survive. Or just fucking die. Jesus. I love being able to kill people, kill characters off when appropriate for the narrative. When an NPC would damage an asset, their attacker chooses 1. Gravely injure them, leaving them broken and bleeding, you give them a tag. Take something from them, move them, or otherwise gain an advantage. The handler may give them a tag if appropriate. Kill them. Interesting. Note, people outside of vital frames typically aren't capable of damaging Gorgons. Frame assets or pilot inside their frame unlike... Okay. People outside of a frame typically aren't capable of damaging Gorgons, frame assets, or a pilot inside their frame unless conversation allows. Cool. Permissions and requisitions. All right. Cool. Permissions are a reward granted by pilots. by the Foundation for the mission's success and good behavior. They are either used for personal satisfaction and fulfillment or buying upgrades. All pilots are granted 1 permission at the end of every mission if they complete. Failure still grants a permission, but punishment alongside it. Whoever holds the ace gets 1 additional. Certain girls and frames gain additional. Creature comforts, privacy, visiting home, or retirement. Fascinating. When you next roll 8+, go off duty, you can set a scene where you make some improvement of your life as a pilot. New outfit, better food, nicer room, etc. When you do, write a new girl asset reflecting that. Cute. Privacy. Pick another girl. While you're next off duty, you can set a scene with the 2 of you alone in a room. No cameras, no handler, no interruptions. They'll be in trouble if one of you dies, but anything else is allowed. Visiting home. 2 permissions. When you next roll 8+ to go off duty, you can set a scene where you have supervised visit with your life pre-piloting. 20 permissions. Go home. Reverse your surgeries. Leave the warfront behind. You've served your time. A new girl will place you soon. So 20 missions without spending anything. That's crazy. That's a lot of sessions. Asset installment. Pick a new asset from any frame. Write it on your own. Ability unlock. Pick a new requisition from your frame. Frame grafting. 3 permissions. Pick a rule from another frame and add it to your frame. Frame swap. 4 permissions. Pick 1 asset and 1 rule from your current frame. Pick a new frame playbook with those unlocked. Interesting. So this is the XP system. Remember, just because you've earned a requisition doesn't mean your handler can't take it away from you if you've been bad. Fuck. That's fucking brutal. I love that. Punishment. Okay. Before we go into this, we're about to hit an ad break. I'm going to take a quick break here and get some water and get up and stretch, have a bend. Please rest and everyone take care of yourselves. I'll be back in about 5. right, welcome back, everybody. All right, let's keep going. So, the game will sometimes call for punishments. The handler will dispense it. It cannot be avoided as long as the girls are with the foundations, but are roughly grouped by severity. Minor punishments are considered the finish should be minor, but not long-lasting and unpleasant experiences. Moderate are permanent removals of capability or tools. Severe punishments are end a girl's career as a pilot. The one inflicting the punishment may choose one or make their own to add it to the list. You may describe a punishment as much or as little detail as appropriate. The more uncomfortable, the more it makes the other players squirm, the better. We love this. We love this for us too. Whoever the dog is will always be punished. So you remove their identities and mark them so they can't get more heat. The heat makes it harder for the rules to work. Beating. Inflict a tag. Revoke privileges. Reduced socialization. Minor punishment quality tag. Time. Inflict a tag. Deepen the girl's bond with one by inflicting... Inflict a tag. Deepen the girl's bond with the one inflicting the punishment. Fascinating. That's fascinating. Demotion. Lower status. Lower its status. Gain 7 heat. Stimulant injection. Passing responsibility. Pick a girl. It must pick a punishment instead and inflict it. We love this. Corrective programming. Frame disassembly. Compliance surgery. Strict regulations. Impose a rule on the girl's behavior. You may inform it of this rule or not. Breaking the rule will result in further punishment. It can't initiate sex until it is removed, although someone else can still initiate with it. Fascinating. Edging. Note, a girl must consult with the handler if her wishes to inflict a moderate punishment. Handlers are encouraged to reward creativity and a go-getter attitude. Oh, God. I love it. That's fucking hilarious. Jesus fucking Christ. Note, only a handler may inflict severe punishments, and typically in cases of severe insubordination. Yep. So interesting, it does not give any advice on when to inflict these punishments. Amazing. Yes. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. And, like... But... something I would love a line around, like... If it is meant to be very fluid and it depends on the, Oh, there's so many implications here, Paro. So many goddamn implications. It's great. This system's so fucked, but it's got some it's really fascinating writing. But from a, like, gameplay standpoint, I think it's very interesting. The system does not give guidance on when to put these the punishments. If that is the intentional design, I think that's fine, because when have punishments ever been, like, fair or justly laid out? You know, like, when has ever a system of power followed the rules, their own rules that they set themselves to decide what punishment they want to give other than they wanted to give it? You know? And if that's kind of the idea here, I think that's fine, but it would be nice to have that said, to kind of like further kind of implement that into the rule, because if there's something else, if it's like, there is a little bit describing what the punishments are for, but it would be interesting to have more guidelines around this, especially because of what this does to a character and what is to someone's player, you know, player character. Another thing that I would like to further have implemented is this is the reason why this game needs to write its own very specific care instructions for like how to play the game and keep your heart safe, to use the Monster Heart term, especially because this game has so much to do with like the vibes of, it very much has the vibes of Monster Hearts in that way, is like, this is a really punishing system. There's a really long punishing list of things that you could do to someone's character. But with that in mind, I think having some very clear, hey, here's how you talk about this at the beginning of the game. Here, is there anything that would be absolutely off limits because of this? Is there things we can do and adjust? How do we want to fade to black when these punishments come up? A very clear and explicit description and talking about that would, I think, is really necessary, because how the system works and how asynchronatic it is, or unfair treatment. The dog always gets a punishment. The hero always gets more XP, you know, more rewards. The lack of clear lines, easy things for to go far in themes of the system is playing into with, but I also see playing with this, hoping for punishments to go too far, if you catch my drift. Absolutely. Like, I think the type of person interested in playing this type of system is absolutely the type of person who's like, oh, please hurt the shit out of my character. I love that when that happens. That's so much fun. I think anybody who is not interested in that type of game, I would aggressively not recommend this system to you. Because holy shit, does this game punish its players. It takes them out in the back and, you know, does some really fucked up shit about it. But that being made, I think the game needs to be... Once again, this is a proof of concept. I don't think it's necessarily there. But someone coming along the system and not understanding that, especially if they have less TTRPG experience, I think that's why it's so important to have this stuff very explicitly, clearly laid out in the text. Hey Sam, how are you doing? We're talking about some really fucked up shit, so please read the content notes at the beginning. But this is a very fascinating TTRPG that we're reading. Good. You are a person who knows how to read, and so I trust you. But it is important to bring up because holy shit, some of the shit on here. But yeah, that's, I guess, how I feel about the punishments. Is I think the system, I really like the list they have. I think it's really cool. But I would like a little bit more communication from the game dev around their design, how they want these implemented from their design perspective. And also this game could benefit once again, it's a working concept, so I don't expect it to be there, but I think it's important at some point for that to be there, explicitly talked about when it comes to this stuff, because this system very explicitly puts one player character at the bottom of this rung, and we need to make sure that player that gets put there understands that and can communicate when things go too far from an from a player perspective as opposed to a character perspective. Because even if someone is in that, yeah, hurt the shit out of my character, I love that kind of that stuff. That's the type of game I signed up for, that I know that I'm ready. That person still will have when you're playing a TTRPG, you will have occasionally you will run into something that you didn't know was a trigger. And the game should have, it's important for the game to talk about the ways to manage that. I think anybody who's playing this type of system, I fucking hope they know how to do that. But I think it's important as game designers or as people making these TTRPGs to make that stuff as easy as possible. Ultimately, that's obviously going to come. I would be shocked if they didn't. This person clearly has an understanding of kink and all that type of stuff, but it's an important conversation to have that I think needs to get added. All right, void. All right, void. Void is a supernatural corruption inflicted by gorgons and harpies. It is strictly prohibited to take on the properties of the void. When you gain void, rewrite an uncorrupted asset to reflect your change. Then, I would leave a table if the table does not handle triggers. Exactly. But, and Mitha, you've been in experiences, especially when you're a lot younger, when you were a lot less experienced, a lot more confident, less confident in yourself. I don't know explicitly if this has happened, but I can imagine someone being in that position and be like, oh, this is just how tabletop works. And yeah, maybe I'm a little uncomfortable, but it's what I signed up for, right? No, you're allowed, when you're having these types of plays, and especially when you're delving into these types of topics, it's very important to run off of, what I like to do is run off a minority rule. If one person says it's not okay, it is not okay. It does not happen at the table. I think, if a person's like, hey, I have all of these things and they're going to make me uncomfortable, this might not be the game for you. And that's okay. Because the game so very explicitly leans in that design. But it's important for any person to be able to take away consent at any time, and that they have those systems in place so that they can. Because it is really hard in the moment to take away consent when you've already consented. Not a lot of people have that confidence. And when you design a game, especially when you delve into these topics, if not any game, when you're talking about characters, you want to give people the permission and the tools, and have those tools set up from a table perspective, but also from a design perspective. And this is something I believe very strongly in. All right. So when you gain coin, you rewrite an asset. An asset is like one of your equipment. If you have all your girl assets have been altered by the void, so you succumb to the allure of becoming a harpy. If you aren't stopped before entering your frame, you'll fuse with it, completing your transformation. If all your frame assets have been altered by the void, your frame grows around the flesh around you. You may escape it if you may escape if you can damage a girl asset, abandoning your frame to become a gorgon. If not, you are changed with it into a harpy. If you become a harpy, you are lost to the cadre unless they can repossess you. Note, a girl who allows her voided nature to be discovered will be placed under void observation, changing how she is allowed to spend her off-duty. Handler. When a handler gains the void, choose one. Pull a knife from your coat and cut it from your body before it can spread. Inject yourself with experimental drugs to halt its spread. Pick an option from the NPC list, but localized to a small area. Have your personnel rush you to immediate surgery. Note, handlers who fail to pick one of these options or do not remove their void corruption will be subject to execution or mandated surgery. NPCs. NPCs with void corruption treat this like a tag. When an NPC gains void, the handler chooses how it manifests. Void of the brain, weeping, laughing, painting strange murals, speaking in tongue. Void of the bones, sprouting, warping, clawing, screaming. Void of the flesh, fractaling, spreading, transforming, lignifying, horrifying. Void of the abstract, unstuck from causality, unstuck from time, ascending. Jesus. NPCs who gain void will be taken in for surgery by the Foundation if discovered. They typically do not survive this, at least do not intact. Speaking in tongues, yep. Hiding void. Your handler will place you on void observation if they suspect of you of gaining void. They do not, however, automatically know if you've gained void or not. They may suspect you if you openly display a voided asset, were grabbed or obviously affected by a gorgon, and interacted with a harpy. You can hide your void assets through making plays or the conversation, but you should check with your handler whether this requires you, will require you to disobey orders. Girls, my favorite. Your girl Plipic will give you 2 assets to determine your bonds and give you a new additional place you can make. So, why not just be honest? Because your identity... Basically, the reason you wouldn't be honest here is because, big surprise, the corporations are not your friend. I mean, there's lots of reasons. There's people who hide diseases because they want to keep working. There's people who are afraid of retaliation or what they would lose. Sometimes the void, maybe the void acids gives them some power that gives them a leg up and is using that corrupted power against the power. You do not have the body rights. You are not a person. Your pronouns are it. And having that stuff infected, we can go back up to void observation. You lose your asset. You would just lose the asset. Or one of your frame void assets are sawn off. You're appropriate prodded by... You have an extended hospital stay. You're publicly shown off. Journal Popus gives you a tag. This is some of the stuff that happens if you try to hide it. But by being honest, I think it's mostly just a roleplay thing. I think though it will, give you... I mean, here's the thing. We can go back over here to, following orders. It talked about good girls follow orders, but like... Where is it? Is it not on this page? Receiving orders. I mean, I think the question is, why people don't want to be honest with the thing that's using and corrupting them. This is not something you chose to do very often. This is something that you were forced into doing. And so you probably don't like or the people that would hide this stuff would be the type of people that don't like the organization very much. And you might have, and the system might give you bonuses for doing so, having void stuff. It's a character decision, ultimately, I think. So yeah, there's a bunch of designs. And then each non-handler player should pick a different girl playbook. Additionally, for new players or side characters, simply ancillary playbooks are available. Cool. The perfect girl. Me. I'm the princess. No. You're a show dog. When the Foundation wants to settle and rest, give public a boost to morale, you're the one who they trot out. You're pretty, reasonably competent, and don't have more visible malfunctions of your sisters. Gun, legal. We love that. Hidden exoskeleton, middle rejector, old dog tag, some actual cash. Starting identities, pretty, malfunctioning, programmed, imperfect. Pick one girl you have a personal bond with. You used to be famous, but now you're replaced. You saw something that could have ruined me, and you haven't told anybody. That's very good. You also have a bond with one of the following two NPCs. Doe-eyed Connected. Corrupt politician, glamour celebrity. Cute junior handler. Tell your handler that you begin the game. Tell your handler that you begin the game as the ace. You're the special that way. When you keep your head, you're always sexy enough. I love that. Oh, I love that so much. Regardless of your choices, you can mark one of your own tags to adjust your role when you flirt. Oh, that's very good. To a higher standard. Pick one of standard you're held to, and the girl you have a bond with picks one. Your handler also picks one. And the one they additionally pound counts as an order. Ooh, okay. I love never have a romantic relationship. Because that's always going to happen. That's totally going to happen. Report your contact. Always refer to their girls by official pronouns. Always be kind and helpful and obedient. Take care of your handlers day to day, cleaning their weapons, making their bed, pouring their tea. Never show your weakness or hesitancy in front of an underling. For instance, he's finely groomed and impeccably dressed at all times. Never act in a way that would shame your family's name. Encourage people to, yeah, that's very good. So long as you uphold to your standards during off-duty, you'll have one of the following benefits. You may use she, her pronouns while you're the ace. At the end of each mission, raise your status. If you are the ace, take a permission. The NPCs will follow your orders unless they have a reason not to. Fascinating. So these are several of the abilities you can pick. Oh, God. Show dog. Regardless of what you rolled, also pick one. Start a trend or controversy giving a tag to an NPC. Risk punishment. Put someone in a public eye and give them a tag. Risk punishment. Send them a message to someone. Smile and do what you're told. Take no risks. And run from this allows getting a bell from the affected NPC. They say, I want to fuck you, own you, kill you, or beat you. Lovely. Lovely. So you get all of these moves, or are these just ones you can pick? I think you get all of these. Yeah, because it's only like 3 abilities. When you have sex with someone, spend heat and roll. On an 8 to 10, you were perfect. Ask them for a favor. If they refuse, they may give you you may give them a tag. On an 11 plus, you were perfect. Choose a play, which they must immediately make, and you make any decisions for them. 7 minus, 7 or below. You couldn't live up to your image. They give you a tag and weaken your bond. Oof. Big oof. Mockingbird. So good. Took you back. Yeah, it's like you have to go under deep surgery if anything happened. Like, it's going to be painful. Dangerous, malfunctioning, corrupted, shadow of a dream. You get to pick 2. Synesthesia. That's fascinating as a adaptive restraints. Umbilical cord, biolink. Umbilical biolink. Unsettled impulses. Vestigial limbs. How useful. Pick one girl you have a personal bond with. When I was a harpy, I was obsessed with you. After my surgeries, you told me about me. You told me about when I was once human. You also bonded with one of the two NPCs, the lunch lady, the surgeon who fixed you, the guard who doesn't talk, whatever lives in the vents behind your cot. Risk factor. You do not succumb to being a harpy unless you're in your frame and all of your assets are altered by the... Even then, you can keep your head and you're in control of yourself and you will be able to resist. You can shift the results of any roll you make to an 8 to 10 by taking on void. Oof. Oh, that's a lovely risk-reward mechanic. Call of the Void. When you deep dive, you can also pick one of the following options. I blur the lines between myself and her, making any number of girl assets into frame assets, or vice versa. I bring someone else into the cockpit with me, and they may choose one as well. I use her as a real eye to communicate with nearby Gorgons. Bad at being a person. Damn, isn't that all of us? Damn, ain't that me, chat? When you try to hold a conversation, you spend fucking mood, right? When you try to hold a conversation, spend heat, and roll. You may not explain what you mean out of character. Oh, that's brilliant. That's such good design. That's such good design. No, yeah, you can't explain what you mean. You have to just play it. Oh, that's beautiful. You can pick three. Pick three you can do. All others you can't. Human words, normal sentence structure, fluid body language, correct facial expressions, polite eye contact, and deception. Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. On 11 and plus, pick 4, but they give you a tag based on whatever you can't do. 7 minus as an 11 plus, but you pick up to 2. They can't leave the conversation until they say you're allowed to. So you get a tag, but you only get to pick 2. Oh god. Oh god, that's a disaster. Oh, you're such a disaster. Oh god, I want to make a Mockingbird character. Oh god. Sex play. When you have sex with someone, spend heat and roll. On an 8 to 10, you touch something unsettling within them, leaving them shaken and spent. Choose one to deepen the bond. Take void from one of their assets and collect it, allowing it to flow into a different asset or a participant. If you take it on yourself, write it as an asset. Teach them to hide or suppress their void corruption, risking punishment. Strain their mind with old dreams. Give them the tag starry-eyed and pick an option from being bad at being a person. While they have the tag, you can always use this option when talking to them. Aw, that's kind of cute. That's really weird, but it's kind of cute. Also, and I'm just starting to think about, like, for playing a character that's asexual, another thing you could do in this system is, like, redefine what sex means, you know? It's you know, it would be something very intimate, you know, and personable, but it wouldn't be like, it didn't have to be like physical genital contact or, you know, kissing or whatever, you know, it could be something a lot more, it'd be something deeply intimate, but it didn't have to be like inherently sexual, was something that you could do as well. Another way to work around that. On 11 plus, aggressively spooning. Exactly. Especially because, like, so much of your life is controlled by this thing that the amount of emotional, just like having a moment to connect. Any kind of connection, you know, would be enough, you know, to deepen that bond, you know. Exactly. But yes, this game kind of, there are ways you could do it, but it is not explicit in the design, I think, is ultimately what I would say. On 11 plus, you invade them, infect them with yourself. They gain a void or an asset of your choice and deepen your bond. Both of you risk punishment. God. Oh, that's horrifying. 7 or minus, you are in over your head, and you break down during the act, becoming helpless. They can do as they like for now, but your handler will give them a tag if anyone finds out. Oof. God, what a mood. Stim blessed. It's just called having ADHD. It's common for girls to break under the stress of being a pilot, but sometimes it can't be spared. Sometimes they force drugs down its throat and put it back into the cockpit. Eventually, it becomes more economical to load the girl or its frame up with a drug dispenser so that it can be blissed out and focused on when the fight comes. Oof. Not quite ADHD, but a little bit. Just someone who's addicted to the drugs of the system. Dangerous, blissful, dependent, wired. This would be a really hard character to play. Just like, that's some really fucked up, deep shit. Addiction's hard. Government enforced addiction, you know. Pick 2 girl assets and detail them. Blocker inset, autonomous Neuralink, implanted survival instinct. God, what a mood. Hidden needle, chemically fried nerves. Pick 1 girl you have a personal bond with. You've snuck into my bunk and gotten high with me. You've held me down while they have injected me with sedatives and shoved me into the cockpit. Maybe even you held the needle yourself. Fuck. Oh, look, I may say something about my kinks, but holy shit, that's hot. Oh, fuck. Fried ex-pilot, sharp-jawed janitor, nurse who gives you checkups, leader of the supply corps. Stim-blazed plays. Disposable psyche. Implanted survival instinct, yeah. You can remove an identity when you mark. You can remove an identity when you mark it, and it gains 3 or 4 additional heat. Interesting. When you go off duty, you must turn 1 to 4 tags into identities. Oof. Oh, that's brutal. That's really cool. So you have a very quick like burn and obtain mechanic too, because you're so like addled with these chemicals that they keep feeding you that you don't even have a quite sense of who you are, and you can kind of burn through them quicker. Oof, that's brutal, but really cool design. You dote yourself up with a combat cocktail, spend heat and roll. Each component of the cocktail counts as a tag that will all wear off after a scene or 2. Upper, quick, strong, downer calm, downer bliss, hallucinogen talk, hallucinogen sense, a psychedelic that changes the way your brain interprets your senses. Pick 2 to dose yourself with, and your handler picks 1. 7 minus, pick 1. Your handler picks 1 to 2 to dose you with. If you're close enough to find someone else's vein, you can make this play. If you're close enough to find someone else's vein, you can make this play, but dose them with the cocktail instead of yourself. If you do, on a 7 or minus, they may punish you instead of being dosed. If someone orders you to dose up, they can also pick what you've dosed yourself with. Interesting. Malleable me, malleable you. Whoop. When you give someone a tag while they're in an altered state of mind, you can force them to embrace it at any time. They choose what identity it replaces. NPCs give you tags in a way that can't be deprogrammed even by the Foundation. That's crazy, but really cool. You can mark your own tags if they represent drugs or intoxication. Spin, eat, and roll. You get sex play. You get them so high they can barely function. Give them a drug from dose up and pick one. They're helpless while they're drugged until the drug wears off. You can give them orders as though they were you were higher status than them, deepen a bond with them, give them a tag. On an 11 plus, as an 8 to 10, but pick 2 from above and dose yourself as well. They'll also pick one flick from you. You're left a drooling miss. They pick up a drug to give you and pick 3 from above and apply to you. They can't take the drug themselves if they want. They can take the drug themselves if they want, but they don't have to. Drugs from this play function as the same ones from dose up. They're treated as tags and will wear off after a scene or 2. Interesting. New girl. But yeah, that's some really interesting play, but that's fucking heavy. That's some real heavy shit right there. I don't know what else to say. Jesus fucking Christ. Not everyone has a chance to prove themselves yet. Some girls are new, still worried about the same petty things that filled their little heads before they got shoved into a powerful frame enough to destroy a city and set to fight monsters who were even worse. Dangerous, malfunctioning, programmed, and wired. Experimental link port, healthy body, stash of goodies, hand-me-down pilot suit, unusual insight. I love stash of goodies, that's so cute. You have a personal bond with your mentor. Tell each member of your cadre one of the following. We've never had a mission together. We've had one mission together. Snacks! Yeah! You also have a bond with 1 or 2 of the following NPCs. Your sister, also a pilot, junior engineer, who joined at the same time as you, the intelligence agents that recruited you, a girl from a nearby town. Easy target. When you fuck up or say something stupid, spend heat and roll. On 8 to 10, choose someone else in the scene. They give you a tag and they have to pick one from below. They won't be able to resist acting on it and facing the matching consequences. I want to hurt you physically with a knife, fist, or my teeth. You can pick a punishment, I'll face it. I'll face for it. I want to use you. You can deepen our bond when I'm finished. Jesus fucking Christ. I want to make you do something for me. If you do it well, I'll raise your status. I want to protect you, you poor naive idiot. You can give me a tag when I fail. Oh, the dove option. I think that describes literally every option in this game, but yes. Yes, absolutely. Choose someone else in the scene and they give you a tag on 11 plus. Each person in the scene may pick one from below or one from above. I want to give you disgusted to let spit on you or leave the room. I lower your status. I want to go along with someone else, and neither of us will face any of the consequences for our actions. God. You just get fucking bullied. I also think is very interesting. How none of these are like particularly a benefit. There's some that you can use to weasel a benefit into, but so many of these are just awful, terrible options. They can, and I think I really like that there's like a very clear. I'm not trying to balance the game. I'm just trying to make an interesting narrative. You know, there's not, obviously, mechanically speaking, you know, Princess has a lot of good stuff. Is like pretty powerful, quote unquote, but like, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of just like, oh, shit gets worse because you chose this. They can pick whatever they want. Even options not on the list, and you lower your status for being obviously an obvious liability. Trainee. When your mentor teaches you something, whether they meant to or not, choose one. Erase an identity that contradicts their teaching. You have a tag that they've given you. Embrace it. Immediately act on their teaching. Gain 1 to 3. Try to prove them wrong or tell them they're stupid, and they'll be shrinking their mentorship duties if they don't punish you immediately. So yeah, middle school. Exactly. One of the other girls is your mentor. A privilege and a responsibility. You start with a personal bond with your mentor who is assigned by your handler. Your mentor has the following additional rules. She counts as being higher status than you, always. She's responsible for administering your punishments. If she doesn't keep you in line, she'll be punished in your stead. She's required to bring you along on each of her off-duty scenes. She chooses your call sign. If you have a girl name that you're used to, but you're not allowed to use it. Report to your handler immediately if your mentor isn't doing its job properly. Failure to do so remains result in punishment. When your mentor gives you a tag, you cannot reject it. You can mark your own tags if your mentor gave them to you. Sex play. On an 8 to 10, ask them if they respect you. If they say they do, deepen your bond and raise with them and raise your status. If they say they don't, they become your mentor. This counts as having sex with your mentor. God, if you don't respect, if they don't respect you, then you have to prove yourself to them and they become your hand. Your mentor. God, that's fucked. On 11 plus, you're overexcited and awkward. They can damage one of your assets to put you in your place, becoming your mentor. If they don't, they leave you. They leave your mark. You leave your mark on them, giving them a tag and lowering their status. Fuck. On a 7 minus, tell them you enjoyed yourself. They give you a tag and can become your mentor if they want. Additionally, whenever you have sex with your mentor, you can give them a tag if anyone finds out they fucked you. Additionally, whenever you have sex with your mentor, you can give them a tag if anyone else finds out they fucked you. If you have sex with multiple people at once, all of them become your mentor until you swap mentors again. The whole party becomes your mentor. Jesus. Casualty. Orgy. Yep. Whew. All right. I've been having an absolute blast reading through this, but I am actually getting quite tired. So I think I'm gonna call it here. Nice little short, cute, small stream. I'm gonna raid out. Let's find someone to raid. Who's some real degenerates we can send y'all to? It's not just Archivist, I guess. The degenerate the appropriate choice might be Archivist because of the degenerate line. Yeah. Let's read out there. Luna is on. Yeah, let's go say hi to Luna. That's a good idea. All right. Thank you all for hanging out, folks. I had a great time. Make sure to use our raid message. This is a raid. Keep your hands where I can hold them. And yeah, let's go give Luna our love. Thank you all so much for being here, and we will talk to you soon. Yeah. Thank you all for being in the audience. I had a great time. We'll probably come back to this sometime when I have spoons. Maybe this week, if not next week. Alright, goodbye!